Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jordan Davis Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and on today's episode, I will be talking about why watching Lord of the Rings for the very first time helped me with my pain and wounds of the rise of Skywalker. But before we get into that, I want to thank everyone who has subscribed, liked, comment, and even shared my podcast for the last couple of months, week, and I want to thank everyone for that. But if this is your first time listening to my podcast, I talk about Star Wars, DC, Marvels, any kind of movies that is coming out in the blockbuster year. So you can always count on the Jordan Davis podcast to give you the best reviews, news, in my opinion, on everything that's going on in movies. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the topic of the podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking when you first heard me say I actually watched Lord of the Rings for the very first time. And I'm being completely honest with you. Before watching it, I've never seen any scene, any second of Lord of the Rings. I'm being completely honest with you. I never really got into Lord of the Rings until now because, to be honest, I was mostly into comics. I was a big Spider-Man and superhero kind of fan when I was growing up. I always read a lot of Avengers comics, always read a lot of Spider-Man comics. And even though I was really big in Star Wars, and that I heard that George Lucas took his inspirations from Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, I just never got into it. And so there was this one time I was talking to Girls with Sabers on Twitter, and both of them was telling me, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. And I'm gonna tell you this. I did not expect Lord of the Rings to be such great storytelling. No, I heard that Lord of the Rings won lots of Oscars, especially in Return of the King, because it's always saying that they have like the most Oscars ever won. And I always knew that about this trilogy and everything, but I truly didn't understand why they won those Oscars. I truly did not understand how good the writing, the acting, how it was shot, um, everything that you can think of and what it got nominated and won at the Oscars, it was truly deserved. Now, I was always asking what kind of questions should I watch the extended version? Should I watch the normal version? Should I watch The Hobbit because I heard that's the prequel? Um, so I just went in and just watched the extended version of The Lord of the Rings, and it was truly amazing. That's what I can say. It was truly amazing. I never thought I would have such a joyful, on the edge of my seat kind of experience. I loved every single character in this epic story in this epic trilogy that is Lord of the Rings. Um, and I would have to say my favorite movie of out of this trilogy would have to be The Fellowship of the Ring, because while I was watching it, I was like, we're going on this adventure with these group of hobbits who could be like kids, and maybe this is just me, but maybe it's with you for people who have watched Lord of the Rings. Fellowship of the Ring really felt like the Goonies to me. It felt like the Goonies. I felt like I was watching the Goonies for the very first time, going on this adventure. And that's what it felt to me. Going on some kind of adventure. You didn't know what you were going to expect. You just know that you're going with your friends. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful ride to go on. And, and it's amazing. That was just the first movie and the first act of the whole trilogy. And I I just never thought I would have that kind of wonderful experience. The last time I had that wonderful experience with the trilogy was the Indiana Jones trilogy, because Indiana Jones was my first movie I ever saw that at least I can remember seeing. Because even when I think about Indiana Jones, I just think about the great directing, the great storytelling, the great writing of the first Indiana Jones movie. And obviously, the other ones are the other two Indiana Jones movie. They are good and they are awesome. But I think it's really that first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that just really sets the tone for the character and in the movie and what the story they're trying to tell. And it's truly amazing. I haven't felt that same emotion for the very first time watching something since then, and I'm having that same feeling with the Lord of the Rings when the first time I watched Fellowship of the Ring. And with the Fellowship of the Ring, they give you such a great job of introducing to you who these people are and what the world is and what they have to do. They have to destroy this ring for the good of mankind. And that really got me in right away because I knew what we had to do. It was plain and clear what the story was going. And I think one of the things I really love about this trilogy is the balance, is the pacing and balance of all the movies. Now, this is just me as a first time viewer. Even though I watched the extended edition, I did not feel like anything dragged too long. If I saw these versions in the theater, which I don't believe that these versions could be in the theater because they're so long, but it doesn't feel long. I think that's my point to it. That when I was watching it, I was so enamored by the world, by the characters, about everything that was happening with their character developments. And and I have to say that while I was watching it, I can see why George Lucas was inspired by Tolkien, because there was a couple moments each time in each movie of the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings reminded me of Star Wars. Reminded me of Star Wars so much. I think as if I was going to compare both of them, which that is really hard to do, and I love Star Wars just as much as Lord of the Rings right now, and I don't think that's going to change. Um, but if I was going to compare both of them, what exactly I like more, I would say I like the Lord of the Rings one a bit better, because maybe because I was with the characters a little bit more because of the extended edition or the extended versions. I think I was with the character a little bit more, and there was just a lot more quotable sayings and quotable lines that you can use in everyday life and lessons in everyday life, and that could be used for today, to be honest. Um, but yeah, it. I think Fellowship of the Ring is just so good to me. It's just I can't think of a better movie than The Fellowship of the Ring. And what I mean by that, I mean every aspect to make a movie great or even at least perfect. Fellowship of the Ring did that. It made it made you truly immersed in the world, and that's what a fantasy should do. That's what an epic fantasy, an epic story should do. And I would say that the Twin Towers is more of a action and big epic set pieces um, than the first one. And obviously because they're introducing to you to the characters and to the story and to the starting of their development. But yeah, I really could just watch Fellowship of the Ring so many times and just be in awe of everything that Peter Jackson did with the writing and the directing and all of it. Um, so my order would be Fellowship, Twin Towers, and The Return of the King. Um, I have to say, with The Return of the King, there is a relationship in there that felt very, very rushed. Even with this extended edition, I think that's the only complaint I have. I only have like that's the only complaint that I think people that have watched the trilogy in the extended versions, I think they know what I'm talking about. Um, I'm forgetting the name, but I know the relationship that they're talking about. It just it felt weird to me. It really did. It felt like if they were going to do that relationship, they should have had more screen time. And yeah, so that's what I just felt about that particular relationship. If you want to know what I mean, I can tell you in the comments about it. But going to the reason why Lord of the Rings healed my wounds for The Rise of Skywalker, it gave me everything that I wanted in Star Wars and everything that I wanted with Ben Solo. Never giving up hope. And I think that was the big thing with because Aragorn always reminded me of Ben Solo, reminded me of a man walking away from what he truly is. And that's what Ben Solo always did in the sequel trilogy, turning away from who he truly is until he finally embraced who he is towards the end of The Rise of Skywalker, which I wish we got more of, and we all know what I feel about that if you've been listening to the last couple episodes of the podcast. But everything I like I said, everything I wanted in The Rise of Skywalker, Lord of the Rings gave me that satisfying ending. Even though we got many endings in The Return of the King, which I don't mind at all because what they were setting up, they had so many characters in this movie for satisfying endings, so I didn't mind, and I'm glad they gave us that. But everything that was set up in this trilogy, they gave us a satisfying ending. And I just wish Star Wars really gave that because if they gave us a satisfying ending, if they gave us an ending that everyone loved, that would put a smile on everyone's faces, I think we would have a totally different situation with Star Wars. And even though people that liked the movie, I think there would be more of agreement, not a really a divide among the fans with the Rise of Skywalker, and just showing just how of a mess this movie is. I think if they truly set out a plan to give a satisfying ending, to have their most popular character live and not die, and for Ben Solo and Rey to be together, and if that's being together on Tatooine or whatever that is, I think I think a lot of people would accept that ending that they gave us if they had been survived. And yet they pick us like, oh, I wanted them to be on Naboo, I wanted them to be on some kind of other planet. But I think if they got the main thing right, Ben and Rey are together, they are alive together. I think that would have made a lot of fans be like, okay, I'll take that. I like the ending. I like how you end it. I might not want it on Tatooine, but we got what we truly wanted. But that's not what they gave us. They did not give us a satisfying ending. And I think that's what I come out of The Lord of the Rings with. You got your great characters, you got your great moments, you got your great epic cavalry saving fight scenes in the Two Towers and in The Return of the King. You have all of that. But I think at the end of the day, for me, I can always pop in The Lord of the Rings and expect a happy ending. And for me to be happy, I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna cry. And believe me, there are a lot of funny moments in this trilogy. And and that's why I say balance. They balance everything that a good epic story should be. Great humor, great battles, makes you moments that makes you cry, moments that make you cheer like you're inside some kind of stadium. That's what you want. And I'm just glad that the Lord of the Rings gave me that fulfillment. And that's why I think Lord of the Rings really healed my Reylo wounds, my Star Wars wounds, the Rise of Skywalker wounds that it gave me, and I'm so happy that it did. I'm so happy that it did. And that's really what I wanted to make the podcast about. That go and watch Lord of the Rings again. It will help you with whatever pain you are feeling from the Rise of Skywalker. Whatever pain you're feeling with Reylo. Watch Lord of the Rings. Watch the extended edition if you have the time, and just really get yourself into that world, and just let Lord of the Rings be your medicine. Let it be the medicine that cures your pain. And I know that there will always be that pain, but I think by watching this trilogy and seeing how good it is, you will see how this will help you. So I totally recommend you watch Lord of the Rings to really help you with what you're going through, with all of you are going through for the Rise of Skywalker. So that's going to be the end of the podcast for today. I want to thank all of you who are listening to my podcast and to this episode. And so yes, until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful and fantastic week. So until next time, I'll see you later.